Good day, my wonderful and successful international students. I am very happy to see you again. And today's topic is going to be related to self-confidence and how those rules of self-confidence change from our native country and how we used to behave, how we used to feel comfortable in the teaching, learning environment in our universities, perhaps, and how those rules change when we move abroad. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share this interesting topic is because when I was director of study abroad for many years, I could see students who were very confident, who were always, participating in class, who were very talkative, etc. And I could see them when they moved abroad going through some stages of adaptation and even suffering in which they will let me know, they will share with me, you know what, Ada, I'm not feeling confident. I'm actually feeling insecure. I don't want to raise my hand in the classroom. I'm scared. People are going to laugh at me. People are going to make fun of my accent, perhaps. Or I have never felt this insecure before. As when I was home, I was secure, I was confident. I don't feel that confidence anymore. So that is one of the reasons why I wanted to touch on this interesting topic, because just as I have mentioned in some of our previous videos, there are a lot of tutorials, and of course there are a lot of books that are going to address the topic of self-confidence. Actually, if you know me, you know I'm always reading. And one of the reasons also that inspired me to talk about this topic is because I started reading this book, The Power of Self-Confidence, which was written by Brian Tracy. And just while I was reading this book, along with many other different books that I have read related to self-confidence, I noticed that many of these books, many of these tutorials do not address the particular characteristics of international students. We do not just lose confidence. That's not what happened. It's not like, oh, I don't know what happened. No, it does have an explanation. And today, the objective of this mini class, 20-minute class, is going to be to understand where this is coming from, why I am feeling less confident, and then I will be very happy to share with you 2 real-life strategies that you can put in practice immediately as an international student in your school that is going to help you develop a new skill, because that's what we're going to be talking about here. We're not going to fix you. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? What we're going to do is teach you, train you, and give you some templates that you can use so you can feel more confident while developing a new skill, because you changed the culture in which you were used to living. So let's begin with some examples that I have from my current international students. I do have a lot of students that actually begin the class by expressing or sharing, you know what, I consider myself an introvert, or I consider myself a very shy person. And sometimes this is connected to not feeling confident in the classroom. This sometimes you can see it in the classroom when students don't feel confident to ask their professors, their instructors for clarity on the topics that are being presented in class. So this is going to lead us to, again, the topic of culture. So let's talk first about that part. The differences we have in different cultures related to being confident, or what it means to show confidence. Very good. I have shared before that many of my students come from cultures in which actually being respectful means being quiet, or being respectful also means not speaking at all, and actually standing out in a classroom is seen as a very negative characteristic in a student. Do not stand out, do not speak up, do not make yourself noticeable. And we understand, of course, that in many cultures, again, this is a sign of respect. However, when we move as part of our study abroad experience, many of the Western classrooms are actually going to expect you to be speaking up, to be raising your hand, etc., etc. Now, let's go into the confidence part. It's not that you are weak if you don't feel confident about talking. It's about the fact that you were raised and you grew up in a society or in a culture in which, okay, not speaking up, not doing any of these participatory activities in the classroom were actually what you were expected to be doing. But now in a new society, in a new culture, is the other way around. What you were taught that was normal, regular, and expected in your home country here might make you invisible. In this new country in which you're studying, might make you not noticeable, okay? And it's not about making mistakes. It's just you're using the same rules of engagement from back home, using them into your new country, but here they don't work the same, right? And then you start feeling, I see everybody's talking, I see everybody participating, I see many people asking questions, and I don't feel confident, I don't feel secure about asking the same questions. What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you, okay? So let's talk about those two topics. Number one, the internal conflict we got through, and number two, the silence, the introversion, and that psychological safety that we need to feel before that confidence can be built. Let's talk about the internal conflict. As I already said, this internal conflict comes from a conflict of values. Many of us, again, were raised in a different way. And you feel that if you raise your hand or if you speak up, or if you go to your professor's office hours to talk to your teacher, it's like you feel you are not being true to yourself. It's almost like you feel, I don't feel comfortable. Of course, you don't feel comfortable because these are activities, actions you have never done before. And it's not fear, it's not insecurity, it's just a conflict of values. You're not used to talking, conversing, in speaking up in a classroom environment. I remember very well one situation in which maybe many of you are going to remember. We were in semester number 1 here in Vancouver. And I remember, I think it was week number 2. I had already had classes with this group of students. And on week number 2, I arrived earlier and I sat down in some of those picnic tables we have outside of our Broadway campus here in Vancouver. And I saw my students having lunch. So I was also going to have lunch. I brought my sandwich, I brought my drink, and I actually asked them to join me. Like, oh, we're having lunch. Can we have lunch together? And I asked them, why don't you come over? And I could see their faces going like, what is this teacher asking us to do? Is the teacher asking us to have lunch with her? Yes, come and have lunch with me. And I remember one of the students who felt a little bit more comfortable actually told me, I'm sorry, teacher. They wouldn't call me Ada yet. They will call me teacher. But we have never had lunch with a professor, never in our lives. And we're not sure. And of course, I immediately told them, okay, I'm so sorry first. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. But here in Canada, it's okay to have lunch with your professors and have some small talk. And this is before our class, so this is normal. So this example I'm giving you right now, it's about those conflicts of values that we go through because we have to start acting in a different way. Now, as I told you from the beginning, this video, it's not about fixing you or trying to change you or change your personality. None of any of my videos. All my videos are always going to remind you how valuable your culture is and how amazing those values are for yourself. However, once again, these videos are meant to give you some tools that might make you thrive and enjoy your international student experience even more by bringing your own culture, but also being able to learn new ways of behavior, new rules of engagement. Okay. Now, number two, let's talk about that silence, introversion, and safety. First of all, for a lot of my students coming from many of those cultures, the silence and what it means or what it seems for a person to be introvert, it's actually a response of psychological and social safety. What is psychological and social safety? It's that moment in which you don't want to raise your hand, you don't want to ask a question because you don't want to be judged. You don't want to be maybe criticized. Maybe you will want to be called out because your accent is not very clear, or maybe you don't want to be judged as a person who has questions, etc. Now, another situation and another topic I always talk about with my students in class is making mistakes is seen differently in many cultures, right? In most Western classrooms, you are actually expected to make mistakes because we know that we learn through mistakes. And when we have a mistake, it's an opportunity to convert and transform that mistake into a learning opportunity. But also, many of us come from cultures in which a mistake means you are not smart, you are not intelligent, you are in that psychological and social safety. It's exactly what sometimes prevents a lot of students in different countries when they are studying abroad to feel confident about asking questions, about perhaps participating in class, etc., because they don't want to make mistakes when they were taught that making mistakes was so bad. So once again, we go to that point in our videos in which this is a change of mindset. First, understanding that making mistakes is a part of learning, okay? That no one is going to hurt you, and that when you raise your hand, most of the time, your professors abroad are going to appreciate you asking questions. And I can tell you this based on my own experience and when I talk to other professors. The good news is your confidence is not gone. Your confidence is not broken. It's just adjusting, okay? It's not that you lost your confidence. What is happening is that your confidence got lost in your rules of engagement, and now your confidence is learning new ways to develop. Got it? Very good. Okay, so now we're going to go to those two strategies that I mentioned before. Now, many of those strategies may be working, and I'm going to give you two strategies. Strategy number one is code switching confidence. What is this about? Code switching confidence, it's about developing a new skill, not about changing your personality, but it's about finding new ways to express yourself. Back home, perhaps at school, you were just used to taking notes and memorizing. But in most Western classrooms, you are going to be expected not to memorize, but to share your thoughts, your opinion, because we want students to develop critical thinking, creative thinking, and problem solving skills in the classroom. And for that, you need to participate. Try to use some confidence templates. And you're going to see on the screen some of those phrases and templates that might help you. Now, I am sharing here 5 templates. However, I always tell students in my videos and in my classes, any suggestion I make, please be ready to use them, adapt them, change them, so you can use a hybrid strategy. You create your own hybrid framework. I'm going to read some of those confidence templates that might help you. You're going to write in your notebook and you're going to use one of these templates every day you're at school. For example, you know what? I agree with that. Okay. I agree with what was said, but I would like to add. And that is your opportunity to add your opinion to something that was being discussed in class. Number two, you can also share, well, from my experience back home, this is how I see things. However, I would like to know how things work here in this different, in another country, in this new country. I can tell you from my experience because you know that, so you can be confident about that. Nobody knows better than you. So you can feel confident to share that, your experience from back home. Number three, I'm still thinking this through. So this also gives you the opportunity to share your opinion. Remember what I said, most professors are going to appreciate your opinion. We're not expecting students to memorize, we're expecting students to develop their critical creative thinking, and that means sharing your opinion. Template number four. Could I clarify something to make sure I understand correctly? Now, I have to be honest and admit, I use this template all the time. As you know, I am always studying, and this template helps me keep engaged. And also, it takes away that psychological fear of being judged, right? Because nobody is going to tell me, oh, you didn't understand. Oh, that means you're not intelligent. No, 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 no. You are asking, actually, could I clarify this? Because I want to make sure I understand correctly. This is my favorite from all the 5 templates. In the last template, I'd like to connect what was said earlier to, and then this is your opportunity to share your own experience, your own idea. So, as you can see, these templates are going to provide you with a structure. And this is important when you are developing a new skill. Structure and repetition creates new confidence, and you're going to be developing a new level of confidence in this new country. Number 2, strategy number 2 is called permission to be visible and selectively. You're going to be visible selectively. Now, what is this about? First of all, remember, it's a change of mindset. You need to convince yourself, okay, not that you need to change your personality, not that you need to be loud or you need to be disruptive or anything. No, you're still true to your personality. However, you choose when to be visible. And let me give you some examples. Remember, I told you about talking to your professors, your instructors during their office hours. That's a very good way to make yourself visible when approaching your professor, maybe after class, clarifying doubts, okay, or adding your opinion, adding about your country experience, etc. Your professor is going to appreciate that effort you're making to engage and connect with the things that were said in class. Another way in which you can give yourself permission to be visible is to be more participative in your team project work, for example. You're always going to be working in teams in your classes. And I still see a lot of students being completely passive, not participating, not sharing, not adding to the team, just kind of obeying what other team members say. Well, why don't you try using some of those templates as well in some of your team project work, maybe? And it's not about forcing again who you are, because it's not about changing who you are. But remember, the more you use these structures, the better and the more confident you're going to start feeling. Remember, it's not changing your lifestyle. It's a tool when studying abroad, when you make yourself visible, okay? You have to make yourself visible because you are in a new system, and you are going to choose this visibility strategy when it serves your goals, your professional goals, your academic goals, in presentations, perhaps in front of a whole class. And this is going to help you because later on, if you decide to stay in this country, well, you're going to have interviews, job interviews, and you need to feel confident, right? So that is the confidence that we're going to start building right from day one when you arrive into your new country. Okay, very good. Okay, so later on, I'm going to be recording some other videos to, again, talk about this topic because there are many things we can talk about regarding self-confidence as an international student. However, I would like to close this video by mentioning that, as I said, the confidence abroad is not about being louder, but it's about being effective across cultures. What I would like you to do now is share in the comments, because this is the first video we're actually recording related to self-confidence. And there are many, many nuances related to self-confidence as an international student. Either you're not in your new country yet and you are doubtful, or you have questions, or you're scared about how to deal with things. Well, write those comments, please, here in the comments so other students can help each other. I will, of course, reply to you too. But if you are an international student or you have been an international student, also share, please, here in the comments, which are those strategies that help you develop this new confidence in a new country. Okay? Remember, your comments are always going to help other students in the future. Now, when you share your experience, remember, it's not about failing or that you're learning something that is impossible. Learning how to behave in a new system takes a lot of courage. So please remember, it is not about studying abroad, it's about thriving abroad. Remember that I believe in you, you've got this, and I will see you in our next episode. Ciao!